This is Kathy Biehl of EmpowermentUnlimited.net with some additional thoughts on the Sagittarius new moon solar eclipse that takes place on December 14th, 2020, but will be influencing us for months afterwards. This information is in addition to what's in my Astro Insight forecasts, and I encourage you to either listen to it or read it if you haven't done so. We're at a dividing line. We are at a portal. We are on the brink and very soon going through a corridor, a catapult, use whatever metaphor you want, that is going to take us from one way of thinking about the world into a completely different way. I cannot overly stress the shift in mindset that we are experiencing, and it's highly useful now to consciously, mindfully, deliberately work with what your beliefs and outlooks are as you go through this portal. There is a closing out aspect to this. Eclipse actually means the sky goes black. The sun goes black. It is blotted out in a solar eclipse. Something leaves, and when the light comes back on, something dawns. Something is born. A lot in the last year, a lot since June, has kicked up an awareness in each of us of a lot of our defaults, our default thinking, our default approaches to many, many things. Become aware of what we take for granted to some extent. We're not so matter of fact about a lot of things, and we have been given the opportunity to see what the drivers have been inside of us, that we've been taught, that we've picked up, that we've assimilated from our culture, from our families, from the media, whatever. And we've been shown quite drastically lately the actual physical power of words, of beliefs, of philosophies. We are seeing some of them taking the streets right now. Thoughts and beliefs in action. And it's possible that we have somewhat clouded vision. It's really easy to look at other factions out in the world and say, oh, those people are clearly nuts. Maybe they are, maybe they aren't. But there are ways in which each of us has been fooling ourselves, lying to ourselves, going easy on something or misreading something for good or ill. And I will suggest to you in many ways, it often comes back into reading things in the worst possible light for yourself. So I have a couple of goofy little exercises for you to play with in honor of this eclipse. Okay, first, let's imagine that there's a gigantic bonfire. A gigantic bonfire. And behind the bonfire, there is a huge gateway, and it's already opening, and you can envision the portal, this gateway, with any kind of material you want. It can be light, it can be a structure, it can be a giant semicircle, it could be a door, whatever you think of. And if you can't see it, just play in your mind with, think about what it might look like. You can't really see what's on the other side of the portal. So the portal is there. You're building a bonfire. I encourage you to think of specific thought loops, specific beliefs, biases, prejudices that don't make you feel good, that fit an earlier way of life, or just think of them. Okay, I don't even have to put labels on them or judgments on them. But anything at all. Let me start with you. Okay, anything at all about yourself, about your appearance, about what happens to you in the world, about the way people treat you. Judgments, beliefs, biases, expectations. limitations, excuses, anything at all, just pour them into the bonfire. Fuel the bonfire with it. If you want to actually physically write things out and put them in a burning bowl, I encourage you to do that. Move on to your parents, beliefs, prejudices, grudges, resentments. Put them in the bonfire. Do the same with any other family members. If you have siblings, if you have a spouse, if you have kids, if there was a grandparent or two, or even four that had a big impact on you, any kind of especially negative judgment, belief, experience, prejudice, bias, put it in the bonfire. You can go through categories of people. Certain professions. I know people who really have a bug up there, you know what, about certain professions. Beliefs about the government, beliefs about just what happens in life to people. Put them in the bonfire. If there are specific people in your life that you have resentment toward, that you're holding a grudge toward, certain patterns, certain situations, do you want to carry this through the gateway with you? Wouldn't you rather walk more, less fettered? So put it in the bonfire. Put it in the bonfire. Just keep fueling the bonfire. This bonfire will keep going. It's safe, it's guarded, it's protected. You can just keep putting things in this bonfire. If you have a physical fire, of course, monitor it and don't leave it unattended. But this metaphoric bonfire, you can just keep going and going and going. While the fire is burning, I invite you to think of what your glass is like. You've heard the phrase, do you view life as glass half full or glass half empty? I would add, or is it cracked and made of lead and full of muck or poisons? So look at what kind of glass do you have? What does it look like? What's it made of? Is it, is it a champagne flute? Is it a goblet? Is it a beer mug? What is your glass? Is it just a little tumbler? What does your glass look like? What's the condition of your glass? Would you like to purify your glass? You can put your glass in the fire briefly, purify it, clean it out, take it out. Is your attitude about your glass different? Is this the glass you want to take with you through the gateway? If not, create a different one. Is it half full? Is it half empty? Is it full? Is it empty and full of possibility? How you look at it is how you will experience it and how you will experience life. And you will know when it is happening, the gateway will pull you through. You can actively walk toward it now and start walking to it, walking into it. You may not feel that you're fully in it for a few days, for a few weeks. You may suddenly wake up one morning and go, oh my God, I'm through the gateway. There is an element of that is not volitional in this, all right? Because this gateway is pulling us through, it is catapulting us through. We are going through one way or another. And the clock goes off at the solar eclipse on the 14th. So you can approach the gateway now if you want. You can walk into the gateway, you can play with it, you can look at it. You can look at your glass. You can look at anything else you've got with you. You can send beliefs that come to you if while you're still in the gateway, if you have a reaction to something and go, wow, that's all outmoded thinking. That thinking is not from me now. You can shoot it back into the bonfire. The bonfire will keep going. Now, you will hear many things about this eclipse. You will hear many things about the Jupiter-Saturn conjunction on the solstice following this. There is a lot of unpredictability involved in this. Specifics, honestly, cannot be charted. I look at the energies, I look at the possibilities, I look at the direction into which we are being catapulted, and then the solidity with which we land at the solstice. There is a lot that will still be rocky. We are not suddenly landing in, we're not landing in Oz, we're not landing in Shangri-La, we're not landing in some beautiful happy ever after land. It will still be life, but there will be different challenges. There will be different constructs, different ways of approaching everything. I encourage you to take advantage of this moment, this going into time, to consciously weed out what you don't want to take with you anymore. And you might be surprised about what that is. So fuel that bonfire, keep it going. See you on the other side.